Welcome to the Solomons. We are 600,000 people, 700 islands, and we have a GDP of a massive $1 billion. Sounds a little bit Dr. Evil there, doesn't it? Tiny, tiny place. Incredibly poor country. Just up the road, 3 hours by plane from where we are tonight. Ranked around 155, 56 out of 180 countries in the Human Development Index. So the Solomons has problems. We have problems. But we also have Agnes. And Agnes means business. Agnes is business. Now, Agnes has a cacao plantation about an hour and a half from Honiara, the capital. She employs 38 people already. Her property runs for 55 hectares, quite substantial in that part of the country. And she has 160 suppliers feeding into her burgeoning little empire. So she has all of these things and one big dream, which is to move from cacao in itself. And I should say, as an aside, that Agnes has actually developed her own hybrid variety of cacao. Who among us can say that tonight? Agnes can, and she's looking now to move from just pure raw cacao into refined cacao, into cocoa butter and cocoa powder, and she wants to bring it to us here so we can enjoy an even better organic hot chocolate. That is Agnes's evil plan. Yes, friends, Agnes is a winner and she needs your support. And she has plenty of friends over there in the Solomons. This is the thing, a country full of poverty and serious practical challenges just to exist and subsist, but also full of amazing people doing amazing things already, like Agnes. And Agnes is learning from the people at Coconut Pacific Solomon Islands, who I went to visit. And I've seen their amazing coconut machines, which suck all of the meat and the juice from coconuts, and they produce... oh, this is Agnes with her moisture machine. Students of cacao production would already have picked that up. But we were talking coconuts, and with the coconuts, the Solomon Islands are already producing this really high quality organic coconut oil. And you may well have some of their products in your soap, their soap in your bathrooms, or the cooking oil in your kitchens. Have a look tonight. Check the labels. So there are great things happening in the Solomon Islands, and Agnes is already doing it, but she wants to do even more of it. That's why I'm speaking here on her behalf tonight. I am the nominal near-dead white male speaking on behalf of a young Solomon Islands woman. Now, Agnes has a plan. She wants to take cacao, raw cacao, at $10 a kilogram and refine it so that she can then sell cocoa butter and cocoa powder at $30 a kilogram. Genius. Even Mr. Cairns is impressed. And the impact of that process of value adding in Agnes's community would be huge. She thinks over the 5 years of her business plan, and yes, she has a business plan, that she can produce 780 tonnes of cocoa powder and butter. And she can employ herself in her business another 100 people over that period. So that's what we're looking at. And what you also have to understand in the context of the Solomons is how investing in Agnes and helping her create wealth for her community and to create jobs in her community and to keep money in the villages where she is working, that has a huge impact. We all know the multiplier effect, the trickle-around effect. It's a real thing, particularly in a place like the Solomon Islands. So you don't just invest in Agnes, but you invest in the prosperity of a whole area in an extremely poor country. And you'll also, into the bargain, help Agnes to buy the farm one day outright in her own name. And it's probably interesting and useful to mention at this point that in the Parliament of the Solomon Islands, there are 50 members of the House of Representatives. 49 of them are male. So there's just one female representative currently, which doesn't necessarily reflect the population of the Solomons. And who knows, once Agnes has established her empire and developed wealth in her community, she could add to that number. She could double the representation of women in the Solomons Parliament. So this is the kind of thing that you can support. If you are interested, ladies and gentlemen, in helping us develop Agnes's business, we are looking ultimately for $25,000 for good return people like Joyce and Jessie. Could we have the next slide, please? Miranda, thank you. Smooth. There we are. And there's Joyce, who I worked with on the phone banking project with Jessie. And Joyce and Jessie are the kinds of people who would work for good return with Agnes to develop the business. And so, for example, on the phone banking project, Joyce was kind of the operations manager who brokered all of the relationships on the ground to help the partners work together, the telephone company, the bank, all of the shops that we worked with in the villages. So that kind of work, that kind of networking operations role is the sort of role that Joyce could play in developing the cacao business that Agnes is looking to develop. And there's obviously a lot of investment in equipment and training that goes with that, and that's the kind of work that Joyce and Jessie can do too. Jessie, of course, is one of the amazing good return people who do extraordinary things all over the Pacific, working with people to develop sustainable livelihoods. So that's what we're looking at, and Agnes thinks that she can make all of that cocoa butter and cocoa powder and produce all of those jobs. And the question is whether you want to participate in that, whether you want to help Agnes to build a bridge from subsistence to prosperity, to create real wealth, sustainable wealth for her family and her communities. And the real underlying question that you have to ask yourselves, friends, tonight, is whether you want to drink better hot chocolate, because that is the difference that Agnes can make to your lives. Thanks very much.